If you want to get good at writing as fast as possible to grow your brand and business, this video is a blueprint for what I would do if I had to start again. That means from scratch with no expertise, no audience, and no real clue what my niche is. And this is advice that I gave to a close friend who's just started writing online last week. It's also what I've told hundreds of clients to do to build rapid momentum with sharing their ideas. So grab yourself a cup of tea and let's dive in. Now, for some context, I've just moved to Paraguay and I was having dinner with a new friend, a friend of a friend, and he's a smart guy, he's got plenty to offer, really wants to write, but he didn't know how to start. He said that he was overthinking, that he had tons of drafts and written ideas, and that he really valued the idea of writing, but when it came to doing it, every time he started, he would get frustrated or he would get distracted and he would never really actually post his ideas online. So over a steak, I sat down and I explained precisely what we need to do to get him going. The first thing that I said to him is that the enemy of progress is perfectionism. There are a graveyard of want-to-be writers who just never got started in the first place. And it's such a shame because sharing your ideas online is the most powerful way to change your life, your business, because not only do you attract an audience, authority, opportunities, but the more you write, the more you think, okay? And the more you think, the better everything goes. And so I told him that he just needs to get going. You have to appreciate you don't need to decide where you'll end, you just need to decide where to start. And so I gave him 4 decisions to make that we did just over dinner, and I'm going to give them to you too right now. But first, before I do, it's super important that whenever you decide to write, you need to have a bit of a content plan. And so I created a guide called the 5 Pillars of Magnetic Writing, and it covers the 5 things that your audience are dying to hear from you, regardless of your niche. My ebook is 5 minutes to read, it's completely free, and I guarantee it will make you stand out from the noise. So you can grab that at the link below. But next, let's have a look at what I told my friend. So there are 4 decisions that hold back writers. We have who we are writing to, we have what we are writing about, we have where we write, and then we have how we write. And if you could just simplify those 4 decisions, I guarantee you will get out of your way and start sharing your ideas. So let's talk through them. So who are you writing to? It's really important to realize that the writer who understands their audience the most wins. And so the main mistake people make is either they're not writing to anyone, which is, like trying to fire a bow and arrow without a target. It's impossible to hit the mark. Or they're not really sure about the person that they're writing to. And so their writing is weak. They're saying stuff that they're not quite sure is going to land. You really want to get specific with the person. And so I always say, you must write to your one true fan. This is the person that you can serve best, the person that you want to attract most. That could be your favorite client. So if you have a client that you love to work with, if you write to him, you're going to attract more like it. It could be an old friend, someone that you feel really comfortable talking to. Or one of my simplest strategies is just to write to the person that you used to be. I call this serving your shadow. And I said to my friend, I was like, look, as a start point, that is the most powerful, because who do you know better than yourself, right? Everything you learn today becomes content for tomorrow, and you kind of get out of your own way because you're not worried about, oh, I'm not an expert. You are the most qualified person to talk to yourself, and you can always adjust that target later as we begin to make progress. And then this leads me to the next point. My friend was saying, what should I write about? Like, I've got all of these wide-broadening ideas and I'm not sure where to start. Right? Just start with the one that fascinates you most, but here's the key to doing it well. Teach yourself in public. Right? Because what happens is most people freeze because they feel like they have to come across as an authority, as an expert. But people are looking for guides, not gurus. And so if you treat writing as a public experiment of teaching yourself what you know or what you want to know, then you stop wrestling with the imposter syndrome and with the like, who am I to say this thing? And you create a really cool feedback loop because the writer learns the most, right? So when you write about what you know, you find out what you don't. You also learn it 10 times faster, you remember it. And by extension, by just writing about the thing that you find fascinating and teaching it to yourself, you're going to attract people who also find that interesting too. This way, your niche begins to evolve, right? Because you're following your curiosity. If you just start somewhere and you keep writing, you'll find that some ideas will stick much more than others. It's kind of like if you were walking on a path and you had a stick and you were just prodding to see where it's best to walk. Some areas are better than others, and you just let your curiosity guide that direction. And so what you want to do is let's just pick one topic, 2 topics, 3 topics, and you say, cool, I'm going to write about these. I'm going to write about what fascinates me most. And importantly, because we know who we're writing to, which, for this purpose of this exercise is to serve your shadow, you're going to get them from point A to point B, which means you tie it into a problem they're struggling with and you provide a solution, ideally backed up by a personal anecdote or story from you. So you're just teaching yourself these solutions for a problem that you've already solved, something that makes you interested. All right, and then this leads us to where we're going to write. So my friend had been writing on Google Docs, right? So he had hundreds of Google Docs, unfinished drafts, and he hadn't posted them anywhere, which is completely pointless, right? Because work that isn't out in the world isn't going to do anything for you. And so you must commit to posting your ideas in public. The mistake people make here is that they post in places that have a long tail of feedback. So for example, when I started writing online, I spent about 7 months trying to build a website. And by the end of it, I was getting like 20, 30 visitors. I thought, this is all part of the long game. But I was playing the wrong game, right? A game that used to work 10 years ago. If you want attention, you must go where attention flows, and that is social media. Because the closer you can get to your reader, the quicker you can see the response, which means the quicker you can iterate. And so you must pick a platform that you enjoy, where your one true fan hangs out. That's it. Simple. Do not try to write in multiple places, okay? Because if you try to grow everywhere, you grow nowhere. And if you succeed on one platform, it is so much easier to succeed somewhere else. And so I'm going to tell you what we do in terms of posting with these, but just pick a platform, all right? Don't overthink it. We can adjust as we go if we need to. And then just sort out your bio and banner. Don't do this mistake that I've made where you spend about 20 hours trying to optimize what your profile looks like. You need to be unique, you need to be useful, you need to be undeniable. So, put a bit of your story there, tell people what they're going to learn. And if you've got any proof, some results that you've got, why you're doing this thing, put that in there too. Have a professional photo, then stop overthinking it, all right? And that leads me to the final point and the most important, and it's the way that I've built my brand, my business. To stop overthinking, you must set yourself a sprint, right? Because if you say, I'm going to start writing online and there's no deadline and there's no kind of end in sight for you, you either don't start, or when you do start, you're like, I just don't see this working out. Instead, if we set ourselves a sprint, which is a timed challenge, suddenly we have a goal to work towards, and it's an output-based goal, not outcome-based goal. And so the example I gave to my friend that I always tell people to do if you're starting online is 30 posts in 30 days, because that's enough time to get going, enough time to see the ideas that are emerging, but not so much time that you're like, this is impossible. And the cool bit, because you're starting on social media, is that you just need to be short and snappy. So my friend and a lot of other people, we've got a lot to say, and so we think we need to say it all. But if you're just doing 30 posts in 30 days and you just want to follow the rule of 1 for these posts, right? I mean, 1 problem, 1 story, 1 solution, 1 call to action, all right? So this is something that you're struggling with. Here's how I know this, because I struggled with it too. Here's what I did about it, and then here's what you should do too. If you do that 30 times, what's going to happen is a few things. Number 1, you're probably going to really enjoy yourself by the end of it. So you're like, I'm so glad I started. Number 2, you're going to realize which ideas are more interesting for you to write and which ones aren't. Number 3, you may even start getting an audience response. It might be quite small at the moment, but that's completely fine. And that response is a signal that you can begin to follow. And number 4, most importantly, you have gone from the massive group of dreamers and wishers to an action taker, right? And once you've done a 30-day challenge, you can then pause, breathe, see what went well, what didn't, and then set yourself another one. And so this was the final tip I gave to my friend, and the tip that most people overlook is that the purpose of writing online is not repetition, but iteration. And so at the end of a 30-day sprint, at the end of any challenge, we ask ourselves 3 questions. What went well? What went to hell? What can we do differently next time? And so you might look at your writing and go, you know what? I enjoyed these topics, so I'm going to write about, let's say you picked 5 topics and 2 were really fun to write about. The next 30 days will just be about those 2. When we say what went to hell, let's say no one actually clicked on any posts. Chances are your hooks were very good. So in the next 30 days, you're going to spend all of your time just trying to work out how to say the first 3 lines better. And I guarantee by the end of those 30 days, your hooks are going to be better. And then you keep up this process of just repeating and tweaking like an experimenter. And I guarantee the progress that you'll make maybe not in the first month, but the progress you'll make over a year, over 2 years, will really begin to compound. And this will just lead into the final thing that I reminded my friend and that I just always try to tell anyone who is posting online, who is building a business. For 99% of your problems, persistence is the answer. Because yes, you can overthink the start. Actually, from a quick story from my perspective, when I started writing online, I had no audience. I didn't know how to write. I didn't know what to say, and I knew it was going to be hell, right? I was like, this is going to be a rough ride because, it sucks sucking. And I was working 2 jobs, so 50 hours a week. And all I said was one commitment that really helped me get out of my own way. And that was, I will expect results in 2 years, not 2 months. That commitment, so it took me 13 months to get 1,000 followers, 18 months to make $1. But the 24-month mark, so that 2-year mark, was my first 20K month. And so if I had quit at any point before then, I would have really lost out on all of the results that I was hoping to achieve. And so, yes, we need to get started now, but you need to be kind of impatient with your actions and patient with the results. And the key to doing this then is what I mentioned at the start: follow your curiosity. You're not writing online to achieve anything. You're not writing online to make millions. You're writing online to explore your curiosity and bring your audience along for the ride. Because if you do that from day one, you're already winning, because nobody can compete with you if you're having fun. And it's kind of like a case of you prove it to yourself first, and then you get to prove it to the world. So I hope this helps. I hope you get started. And if you'd like more help, I recorded a video showing 3 places that you can start writing in terms of topics that'll make it so much easier in terms of sharing ideas that your audience will love. You can watch that here. It should pop up on the screen. Otherwise, best of luck.